Hey, welcome back. It's September 20th. Jackson's mom's birthday. She's 27 today. My daughter Liz. Hey, I measured it today. I decided to measure. I believe it's day 94 or day 95. I'm thinking day 95. I think it's day 95. But anyways, AM reading on this is 451 inches, and I'm taping conservatively. And you might say, if you're new, what do you mean conservatively, Mark? It's like, well, I'm not trying to measure my sand. You have these pumpkins up on sand, and I don't have a lot of sand under mine, but some guys do. If you measure down to the ground, you're going to measure a bunch of sand. So I put that piece of blue foam right there, and I put my tape on the blue foam. That's 2 inches thick. I'm actually probably about right with that. I might be robbing myself of a ½ an inch, but I'd rather rob myself of a ½ an inch than be fooling myself. So every year when my pumpkins go in, they measure them at the sites. They're usually about 3 inches bigger than what I'm measuring because they're setting down in the sand, and then you put them on a flat surface. So I'm measuring conservatively. The circumference, I don't measure so conservative. I try to get my largest circumference. I even jumped up onto this. I'll show you this little bump right here. There's a little bump right here in the pumpkin. I even jumped up on that little bump. Because for all I know, when they measure it at the weigh off, they're going to go for that largest circumference parallel to the ground. You're not shooting necessarily to be at the blossom or stem level. It's the largest circumference parallel to the ground. Alright, this will probably be my final video for the year until we get to the weigh offs. I just want to tell you guys about preserving your pumpkins. Some tips and pointers. I'm keeping her dry. I got 4 fans in here. I shut them off so you can hear me. I got my ground way too wet in here. I had an issue. I found out some of my vines were, actually the roots were rotting. Here's somewhat of a healthy root. This is still somewhat healthy. I dug it up. It's not dead. It's not rotted. I had some that were, I dug them up and the vine was rotted. These are still salvageable here. But I did find I got a little root rot. I think really what it is overwatering. I overwatered. I cut these old vines back here off. I cut the leaves off. You know, you learn something every year. When you're done learning, you're dead. I learned this year, I cut these old leaves off. I didn't realize in three weeks later, the root underneath would be dead. I talked to a couple guys, and they said, oh yeah, they should still start pulling in nutrients. Well, they did for a while. But there is a direct correlation, I believe, to this leaf and that root. They're feeding each other. If you cut off this leaf, that root's going to die off, and I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks it'll die off. Unless maybe it's the only one that's isolated, maybe it'll feed off the other 2 next to it. But if you cut off a whole string of leaves, those roots are going to die. I proved it here this year to myself. So there's something I learned. So what I've done is, you don't want those old vines with a dead root on there. You just cut them off. You cut them all off. I've actually even took my crown off. My crown, as Joe Altz prefers that we call it, the crown is gone. She's gone. I've removed the main vine down to here. I am now just on, there she is, cut off the vine. I'm now on my 5th secondary out. I've removed 1 or 2 of those because roots were brown. I found when I went through here, I found a wet area next to the drip tape where it got too wet. The roots rotted. Off where the drip tape was a little farther away and it was drier, that vine's okay. So it's definitely, I could prove to myself, too wet. Too wet, too wet, too wet. For you guys in the contest, guessing, here is today's reading. We're 1 inch and 3/4 from the plank. I was surprised when I taped today. She's still moving pretty good. She's 214-inch circumference, and she's taping she's 121 inches and 121.5 inches side to side. She is now right about the same size as my 1947 state record. Now Josiah Brandt sent me a video yesterday knocking on them. And he said in the video, you can start here at the stem end and knock until you hear an echo. Here, the echo right there, it started. He said, that is your line. So that's all solid meat. From there forward is solid meat. So you can do the same thing coming down the side. You come down here, Josiah was saying, here's the side of the pumpkin. You know this is solid meat. I'm not hearing much change there. But anyways, that's what we got. I've got some guys now on the 2017 chart. I am taping 1,913 pounds. If Ron Wallace is right, he told me he thought this would go 10% heavy by visual inspection. I'm not holding him to it, but his guess is going to go to about 10% heavy. This would put this pumpkin at 2,100 pounds right now. Wishful thinking? Probably. But even Russ Pugh told me this pumpkin's going to go real heavy. Here's the coloring on the front. You got a green blotch, some polka dots. Gary Ganter was telling me that's a good sign. He said that's the 1625. Here's like an orange dot. But anyways, who knows? If's a big word. She's a honey. I'm glad to be here. You don't get years like this every year. And check this out. This is my stem. There's a little spot on the stem. It started looking dark and wet. I scraped it off, 3% hydrogen peroxide. Then I took sulfur fungicide, rubbed it on there. And here's my littlest fan. All right, yep. No, it's not Macy. Macy's not my littlest fan. This is my littlest fan. Here we go. Keeping her on there 24/7. Keeping her dry, keeping the sand around her, keeping her dry. I do daily inspections to make sure no mouse turds, no soft spots, no, you know, if a mouse starts eating on it, he might just start gnawing one day and go away and come back another day. So I do go around the whole thing and visually inspect. Here's my blossom end. And from the feel of it and the look of it, I'm going to guess that's 5 inches thick minimum from comparing to my other grows. But yeah, go around and do your inspection. Sorry for the strap. It's a new camera. I don't know. Is it a rock? Isn't it? I'm going crazy! Bubba wants to take a drill and drill a hole in it and find out how thick it is, but I won't let him. I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. All right, man. Here's the pitchfork. One thing you want to do too, don't let these weeds, I need to get in here this morning. I'm going to do a little weeding this morning. Don't let them get all wet and slimy and cover your vines. Your vines will start rotting. Once they start rotting, cuts off your circulation, you're done. Stick yourself with a fork. So I do need to get in here and pull some weeds. I've got them pretty much weeded in front of the plant. But in front of the fruit, I'm sorry, in front of the fruit. But I need to get in here and do some more weeding. One more weeding. Here's my green leaves. My friend who works at a greenhouse for the past 30 years was here yesterday, and he goes, oh yeah, look at those leaves. Those leaves look awesome. I said, you think so, Dave? And he's like, yeah, man, those leaves are looking good. But now here's a problem leaf. I'll show you the ugly ones. Potassium scorch. Talked to Ronnie Wallace. He said that's potassium scorch. I think it's also a lack of water. See that? I was hand watering that vine and I left it, I forgot it for 4 or 5 days, maybe a week. Too much going on, too much work. Life is work. You got to keep the lights turned on. All right, man. So I'm just trying to help you. Keep them dry. I'm going to turn these fans back on. All 4 fans will be blowing. I'm going to pull the plastic back off. The plastic's pulled over here. They called for rain yesterday, which never came. We didn't even get enough to register in the rain gauge, but it's sprinkled and teased, and oh my God. That's the way the rain's been all summer, but that's cool because it's better than being drowned. So I've been watering out of the river. So all right, so I'm getting long-winded here. I just want to guys preserve your pumpkins. Keep them dry. I do have plastic over here. I'm going to pull the big plastic off, but I still have another plastic layer to keep the pumpkin dry. I don't want my pumpkin wet the last 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to keep her high and dry. It doesn't hurt the pumpkin to get wet all summer long, but in the end here, it's best to keep her dry. So wish me luck. Am I 1,800 pounds? Am I 2,100 pounds? I don't know. Meet me in Hamilton, we'll find out. There's going to be some big growers there. Dave Steltz, a few other growers I know are bringing pumpkins there. I'm sure Quinn Werner will be there. I'm sure Jerry Rose, if he's got one, will be there. And we got a lot of other growers that are heading there with big pumpkins to try to get that. There's a possible $7,000 if it's a new site record. All right. And hey, if you won some prizes this year, Gary Mason, you won some product on our last little contest we had and you never contacted me. What would you like? You can pick from the 6 products which one you would like. And I had a few other contests this year. Steve Marley from New York, Pork Chop, he won earlier this year, but he hasn't come to the page to claim it. And he's not on Facebook. And I like Steve, he's been with me for years. So if Steve, if anybody else that's won product this year hasn't come to the page to claim it, get a hold of them. If you remember somebody that won, send him an email. Say, hey, you won some product, contact Bubba. He's going to ship you some product. All right? And right now, let's go ahead and pick a winner. Who's ever the 5th person to comment below this video will win some product. All right, man. Good luck at the scales, guys. We'll talk to you soon. I hope this video helps you out and you learn something new. I'm learning something new every single year. Keep them growing.